It's playoff time in Birmingham, Alabama, as your Birmingham Stallions are going to be taking on the Michigan Panthers at Protective Stadium on Saturday in a USFL Conference showdown, the first one of the new UFL. We're going to break that game down on this week's episode. No video this week. I'm on the road traveling, so unfortunately it's just going to be audio for those of you who are tuning in, but certainly appreciate you doing so. Let's talk about the UFL playoffs. This is State of the Stallions and your host, Luke Miller. Again, thanks for tuning in.
Here we go. Giddy up on three. 1, 2, 3. Giddy up.
You can feel the buzz when you're around this city. People have fallen in love with the Birmingham Stallions. Here we go. We're getting a little juice going.
And Birmingham is going to win the USFL Championship.
So let's talk about this matchup, the third of the season between the Michigan Panthers and Birmingham Stallions. They played week 2 in Michigan. The Stallions won that one 20-13. The score was a little closer than the game felt. The Stallions really, I felt like, dominated that game for the most part. But credit to Michigan. They did a great job keeping the Stallions out of the end zone. And we had about 5, I think, field goals from Chris Blewett or close to it. And that's really what ended up winning us the game, as well as a great defensive outing. And then these two teams met again last week in Week 10 in Birmingham, a very strange situation as the Stallions have to take on the exact same team in the exact same location for a second week in a row. And the Stallions pulled that one out as well by a score of 20-19, so the slimmest of margins. It actually came down to a Jake Bates field goal, which he missed wide right. So the Stallions sort of squeaked away with a win. So 2 very close games, and it's very possible that this third one could be another close one in Birmingham. I'm going to give you 3 keys to the game, one for each aspect of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. Let me actually begin with defense. And what I would say is I think the Stallions need to start fast. I talked about this on my last episode if you watched it, but the Stallions over the last 2 weeks with new defensive coordinator Corey Chamberlain have been fantastic at making in-game halftime adjustments. Last week against Michigan, they gave up 16 points in about the first 20 to 25 minutes. And in the last 35 minutes of the game, they only gave up a field goal, which was great to see, and a similar performance in San Antonio the week prior. So what I'd love to see from the Stallions this week is don't wait 20 minutes to start playing your best defense. Come out, start strong, get a couple good stops early. I think the Stallions are fortunate that both E.J. Perry and Bryce Perkins, who in my opinion are the Panthers' best quarterbacks, will not be able to play in this game. And so you get Danny Etling as the starting quarterback and Brian Lewerke as the backup. I don't expect to see Lewerke. I think we'll see Etling for probably the entire game if I had to guess. Etling is not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, no slight against him, but I just don't think he's as dynamic as Perry or Perkins. And so I think the Stallions' defense is kind of being given a gift here, and they need to take advantage of it. I think about last year in the playoffs when the Stallions on that opening drive against the Breakers and what many anticipated would be a close game got a Brian Allen interception on the first possession, were able to get some points off of that, and they really came out and smacked the Breakers in the teeth, and the Breakers didn't know how to respond, and that game was over as soon as it started. So I'd love to see something similar from the Stallions defense this week. As far as the offense, the 2 words that come to mind are I would love to see us play balanced and efficient. I think we have not been balanced the last 2 weeks. We've had, if you listened to my show last week recapping last week's game, I talked about it, but I felt like we've been very unbalanced the last 2 weeks, specifically in the lack of running the ball. Both C.J. Marable last week and then Ricky Person 2 weeks ago had very few carries. It's not to say they weren't productive, again, especially C.J. this past week, with the few touches they got, but I felt like we went away from the run early. We weren't committed to it, and I think our offense just became one-dimensional the last 2 weeks, and teams really pinned their ears back, came after Adrian, forced him to try and beat them with their arm, but played great coverage as well. And, I imagine Michigan's game plan will be something similar this week. Try and take away the run, try and force Adrian to sort of beat us, but bring a lot of pressure and play a lot of zone so that they try to either get him in the pocket, or if they force him out of the pocket, somebody's there to tackle him. And so, I think I would love to see us try to establish the run. We did that very well in week 2 against Michigan, and I thought that was a huge part of us having a great offensive outing in that game, even though we didn't score as many points. But I think that's something we need to try and do this week. And then the other word that came to mind is efficient. I think not only do we need to try and be balanced and run, can be more committed to the run heading into this game, I think obviously we also want to try and be efficient. That was sort of our sin in week 2 when we played Michigan. If we weren't balanced in week 10, we weren't efficient in week 2. In week 2, we moved the ball great. We put up about 100 more total yards than we did last week against Michigan, but we couldn't score when we got in the red zone. We were 1 of 6 on red zone attempts. So instead of winning that game 40-10, it ended up being 20-10 because we had to settle for so many field goals. And I think, again, both of those things could really hurt us in this game if we struggle to do either one of them. If we struggle to be efficient and take advantage of opportunities when they're given to us, that's not going to bode well against a great Michigan team and a great Michigan defense. And then also if we struggle to, again, be balanced, to pass the ball, run the ball, get Adrian into a good rhythm, then we're going to struggle to put up yards like we did last week against a very good Michigan defense where we only had a little over 200 yards. So there's no denying that Michigan is a great team and specifically a great defense with a great defensive coach in Mike Nolan. And we faced 2 really good defensive coaches the last 2 weeks in Wade Phillips and Mike Nolan, and they both, to their credit, have kept us in check. And so I think Skip's got his work cut out for him. Obviously, he's going to throw, the kitchen sink at this one because we want to win and make it to the championship. But we really, I think, need to do those 2 things in playing balanced and efficient. And the last thing I'd say is I'd really love to see us, in doing those 2 things, get some of our playmakers involved. Ricky Person sat out last week, so he should be rested and healthy and ready to play. He didn't have a great game the week prior and has kind of struggled, I feel like, the last few weeks of the season. So I'd love to see him, get going, as well as CJ. Our offense is just better when it goes through Jay Sternberger. I've been kind of harping on this for weeks, and I'm going to continue to. We've got a fantastic tight end room. They are a mismatch nightmare. We have to get those guys more involved, I think, in this game. And, there's a couple other clutch guys I'd love to see us go to. Marlon Williams, I feel like, has been fantastic for us. I feel like in the receiving game, I would love to see him utilized a lot. Also, Kevin Austin with his speed, I feel like is a guy who can be a mismatch as well and who can make things happen with the ball in his hands after he catches it. So I'd love to see us go to some of those playmaker guys in this big game and let Adrian obviously do his thing. I felt like he was a pretty again, I talked about this on the recap episode, but he didn't really run much last week. He seemed very sort of kind of cautious and just wasn't really playing sort of with abandon and sort of a, in a free kind of way that he has been in the middle of the season. So I'd love to see him get back into that form. But I think those are the things we need to do to get the offense going. And then lastly, on special teams, I feel like we are really lacking a big special teams play. Our special teams have been okay. Obviously, we've got a fantastic punter in Colby Wadman. We've got a great kicker with a huge leg in Chris Blewett. We've got one of, if not the best punt returners in the league in Amari Rogers. But I feel like we just haven't really had that big special teams play all year. We haven't really had like a blocked field goal or a blocked punt that I can remember off the top of my head. We haven't had a kick return or punt return for a touchdown. Certainly, we've had some, game-winning kicks and that kind of thing, and that's been huge. But I would love to see us, again, I'm kind of thinking back over the years with the Stallions, but I remember 2 years ago when we played the Breakers in 2022 in a much closer game in the playoffs, Victor Bolden returned that kick for a touchdown right before half, and I think that really changed the game. The Breakers had scored, I can't remember, either to take the lead or tie it up right there before second half, and it looked like it was going to go into halftime with the Stallions, either tied or down in a very tight affair, and not much time left on the clock. They kick the ball off, and Victor Bolden takes it back to the house, completely swings the momentum of that game heading into the locker room at half, gives the Stallions a solid lead, touchdown at least lead heading into the locker room there. And, that was huge. And so I would love to see us have some kind of momentum swinging special teams play, again, whether it's a blocked punt or field goal, whether it's a kick return for a touchdown. I feel like we haven't had a lot of great kick returns this year. Again, punt return for a touchdown, just something in the special teams game to really kind of open things up, I think would be huge. So those are my couple sort of keys to the game, things that I would love to see with us going into it. And with that being said, let's turn now to the roster report and talk about who's going to be playing this week for the Stallions in this playoff game. So, unsurprisingly, there haven't been any new player signings this week. The Stallions are sort of rocking with what they've got. But there was a little bit of movement because starting left tackle Christian DeLauro was placed on IR heading into the postseason. He suffered an injury in last week's game, unfortunately, and it came out this week that I guess it's serious enough. He's not going to be able to play the rest of this year, and so he will no longer be with the Stallions. He will be on IR for the remainder of the season. So that is very unfortunate. You hate to lose any player at this point in the season, especially your starting left tackle, which is widely considered to be the most important position on the offensive line. So sliding in for him will be Matt Caskey, but we'll talk about the depth chart in 1 second. The good news is that, unfortunately, even though Christian DeLauro went on IR, we actually got former Alabama offensive lineman Deontay Brown off of IR. So if you remember, Deontay Brown started at guard for us in week 1 of the year. The one former Alabama Crimson Tide player who was starting for the Stallions. So I think people were very excited to have him out there on the field. But unfortunately, he suffered what looked like it might be a season-ending injury in week 1. He's been on IR since then, but he is back, and he will play this weekend for the Stallions. So really exciting to have him back. As far as who is inactive this week, I think it's pretty much what you would expect with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. On the offensive side of the ball, Larry Roundtree will be inactive. Isaiah Zuber will also be inactive. And O'Shea Dugas will also be inactive. And then, of course, quarterback Jamar Smith will be that third quarterback as he has been all year. On the defensive side of the ball, we've got DeMarcus Mitchell inactive, Malik Hall inactive, Mark Gilbert, which is probably the only one that surprises me a little bit. He started the year as kind of the top corner on the team and played a lot. And over the course of the year, he's just sort of faded and, sat out a couple weeks there towards the end of the season. It was after the birth of his child and just, I thought maybe that they were giving him some time off, letting him rest up. And, he was active again last week. So I thought maybe we'd see him again this week, but he is actually going to be inactive again. And safety TJ Carter, who's newer to the team, is also going to be inactive because, again, the good news is that JoJo Tillery is back and healthy, and he will be playing for the first time in several weeks, which is really exciting to have him back. So with that being said, let's take a look then at the depth chart and talk a little bit about who's going to be starting for the Stallions. The good news is that the Stallions are at full strength, so they will have the players that they want out there. On the offensive side of the ball, it's exactly what you would expect. Adrian Martinez at quarterback, Ricky Person at running back, Jay Sternberger at tight end, Amari Dion and Kevin Austin at receiver. And then the offensive line is the usual starting offensive line, again, with the exception of instead of Christian DeLauro at left tackle, Matt Caskey will fill in at left tackle. I have a lot of confidence in Matt. Did an interview with him before the season. Go back and check that out if you haven't. Matt is a fantastic person and a fantastic player. He's played every single position on the offensive line for us this year with the exception of center, kind of almost as like a sixth man on the offensive line. He's just sort of plugged in at each spot when he's needed to kind of fill in for an injured player or give a guy a break or whatever the case may be. So he will start at left tackle, and I have a lot of confidence that he can get the job done. Then, of course, Deontay Brown, again, will be backing up those guys as well as Darius Harper. So that's sort of the offensive situation. On the defensive side of the ball, again, like I said, it's about what you would expect. Same starting front four that we've had all year in Garvin, Davis, Thompson, and Tillman. Linebackers, Tizino and Gates. Great to have Gates back. I think he probably could have played last week if he had to, but in a, again, quote-unquote meaningless game, no reason to risk him making an injury worse. So he rested up last week. He's healthy. He's ready to go. So we've got him for the playoffs, which is huge. At cornerback, we've got Daniel Isom, Neville Clark, and Madre Harper, which have kind of been the guys that have kind of earned those starting jobs over the sort of tail end of the season. So they will start. And then Kenny Robinson is back and starting and, good to go after kind of rotating in last week. And then A.J. Thomas, all-UFL safety, will also start. But then I expect to see JoJo Tillery a good bit as well. In the special teams department, again, what you would expect there, Colby Wadman punting, Chris Blewett kicking, Gary Jennings will continue to be the kick returner, it looks like, and Amari Rogers will be the punt returner. So all that to say, the Stallions are at full strength, ready to go. They've pretty much got everybody they could want, again, with the exception of DeLauro. But other than that, they're pretty much healthy and ready to play, and all the typical starters that you would expect. So we'll stop there now for the roster. Let's talk a little bit more about what's happening with the league as the season winds down and as we head into the postseason in the Roundup, where we cover all the latest UFL and Stallions news. All right, so as far as some important things that we need to talk about, first of all, we need to talk about the fact that last week, Shut Your Mouth, a.k.a. Bob, led the Stallions out onto the field instead of Lil Chocolate. So interesting development in the Horsegate saga. I'm going to have to do an update video on some new things that I've learned about that situation. Not going to give all the details right now, but you do need to know that Shut Your Mouth, a.k.a. Bob, not only led the team out on the field, but also was seen delivering Papa John's during the week in Birmingham. So some very interesting developments regarding the horses. We will leave it at that for now. Interested to see who leads the team out on the field in the playoff game. As far as the playoff game, make sure you show out for that Saturday, Protective Stadium, 2 p.m. Need everyone there. We should have the biggest attendance yet in the Stallions' history for this game. It's a huge game. First year in the UFL, first playoffs. Need everybody to show out and support the team. You know, Cole Kubelik's going to be on the sideline covering the game for ESPN. I know he's been calling for people to pack Protective Stadium. So, you know, all you Auburn fans, come out and see him and support him and the team. Also, huge news for those of you who are Alabama fans, Roll Tide Willie will be there. We do have video footage of him screaming, "Don't give a piss about nothing but the Stallions." So that's huge for the team. Would love to see you come out and get the chance to hang out with him and see him. He might rip his shirt off in the shirtless end zone section. Who knows? We'll see. But if you're a Crimson Tide fan, definitely another reason to come out for the game. So all the stars are coming out for this one. You need to be there too. For some reason you can't make it, then definitely tune in on TV and watch it because it's going to be a huge game. As far as some league news, the All-UFL team was announced, and the Stallions had 5 players make that team. So quarterback Adrian Martinez, tight end Jay Sternberger, offensive guard Zach Johnson, defensive tackle Carlos Davis, as well as safety A.J. Thomas. So congratulations to those guys. Certainly wish we'd had a few more, and a few more that I think were deserving of the recognition, but glad that we had at least those handful of guys recognized. And the league has also started to give out some, yearly awards, annual awards. So the Coach of the Year did go to Mike Nolan. Certainly Mike Nolan deserves a lot of credit, and I don't think that, that was a bad decision. I would have loved to seen Skip get some recognition for the juggernaut that he's built. I know he did win the USFL Coach of the Year last year, so, they might have wanted to mix it up and give it to somebody different this year, but certainly thought Skip was just as deserving as anyone else for the continued success that he has had with this team. But congratulations to Mike Nolan for winning that award. And, MVP and some other awards like that have not come out yet as far as the time of recording this, but certainly interested to see if, as predicted, Adrian Martinez is the MVP of the league. I gave out my personal awards, at least a few of them this week. So for the Stallions specifically, some team awards. My MVP for the regular season was Adrian Martinez. I gave out a co-Offensive Player of the Year award to Ricky Person Jr. and Jay Sternberger for both of their performances throughout the year, especially Ricky in the first half of the season, Jace more in the second half of the season. On the defensive side of things, I gave the Defensive Player of the Year to Kiava Tizino for holding down that linebacker spot despite all the adversity that they faced in that room there on the defensive side. And then as far as my Special Teams Player of the Year for the Stallions, had to go to Amari Rogers for the job that he did returning punts for us this year and flipping the field regularly for the Stallions throughout games. So congratulations to those guys. Probably once the season is over, I'm planning on having an awards dedicated episode where, in addition to those awards, I give out some other awards for the Stallions. So keep an eye out for that. Some really exciting news. Former Stallions kicker Ramiz Ahmed actually signed with the Washington Commanders this week. So the first Stallions player to go from the league back to the NFL. Certainly there will be more. He will not be the last, but he was the first. So really excited for him to have an opportunity to impress in Washington and to get to go to the NFL. As far as just some other league things, attendance this past week on average was 15,158, which was the third best number for an average, weekly average this season. So it was great to see the league end on a high note there. The ratings averaged about 783,000. So again, not a terrible number. Hopefully, especially for the postseason playoffs championship, those numbers will go up a good bit, Lord willing. But the exciting thing was ESPN published a sort of like end-of-the-year analysis, and one of the things they mentioned was that as far as local markets watching their games, Birmingham was the number one local market tuning into the UFL, above St. Louis and Oklahoma City, who was third. So congratulations to the Stallions fans. Again, I know they've gotten a lot of flack this year for the limited attendance that has come out at times throughout the season, but I think, there's no doubt that the Stallions are one of the best fan bases in the league and that they do support the team very, very well. Certainly, we don't have the same attendance numbers as a city like St. Louis. Credit to them for what they do. But, in games where the weather was nice, we averaged over 12,000 fans. We had the number one local market for watching the UFL on TV. So certainly, I think you can say that we are carrying our weight and doing a lot to support this league, whether in the stadium or, at home on the couch. And hopefully that just continues to grow moving forward. The league averages for the year, just FYI, the average attendance for the year ended up being 12,828. And then the average TV ratings for the year ended up being 817,873 viewers. So given the circumstances, I think those are okay numbers. I think probably the league would have, of course, liked them to be a little bit higher than they were, but that's what we got. And hopefully that's something to build on moving forward. I think I'm going to maybe do an episode at a later point talking a little bit more about attendance, maybe a separate episode or in the same episode also talk about the TV ratings, kind of give my fuller analysis of those and sort of where I stand on it, my opinion of it. But I'll leave it at that for now and save that for that kind of, maybe off-season discussion. So those are the things that are happening with the league, and we'll wrap that up there. So that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Again, apologize, couldn't be on video, but thank you for tuning in and listening or watching wherever you are. Really excited for this playoff game. Stallions have the chance for a third year in a row to win a playoff game and head to a championship with the potential to three-peat on the line. So that should be fantastic. Going to be a great atmosphere at Protective Stadium. Again, make it out there if at all possible. I'm really excited to see how this team responds to some adversity late in the season. They haven't been playing their best football. We all know they've lost their defensive coordinator. They've got some challenges on their plate. So we're going to find out what this team is made of this week against a very good Michigan team, but a team that I think the Stallions are capable of beating. And again, continuing to show that they are the best team in spring football. So should be a fun one. Can't wait for it. Look forward to talking about it on the other side. Enjoy the game, folks, and make sure you remember, giddy up.